happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, December 5th, 2016, getting into the month here, a couple of days away from Pearl Harbor Day, heading up on Christmas, heading up on the Electoral College, all kinds of nonsense going on around that. We're going to get right into it. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is sitting in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble, and ready to answer the phone when you call on in. Now, over the weekend, a couple of developments on this recount circus that's still going on here. Apparently over the weekend, Jill Stein dropped her lawsuit in state court to force a recount of the Pennsylvania vote. Then, all of a sudden, decides that she's going to file suit in federal court to force Pennsylvania to do the recount. The issue was $1 million bond Pennsylvania wanted Stein to post against the cost of the recount and litigation and the rest of it, and Jill Stein didn't want to do that. So she's gone to federal court to force Pennsylvania to do a recount and let the taxpayers pay for it. Which sort of makes you wonder, what is she doing with all the somewhere between $4 and $6 million that she got from her supporters for all of this nonsense to begin with. Now, apparently what's going on, and again, you need to understand, the recounts aren't going to change anything at all. They've magically found thousands of new votes for Hillary. Jim Stone is saying that his inside sources are saying that the Democrats in the recount effort are literally discarding Trump votes and filling out new forged votes for Hillary Clinton, and that's why there's that sudden change over there. They're trying to get within that half point to force a complete recount, and just all this nonsense. Now, what's going on here is they don't really care about the recount. And Jill Stein's comment about Americans deserve to know their election system is fair, well, why is she only targeting states where Trump won by narrow margins and ignoring states that Hillary won by even less margin, by slimmer margin, especially since those states involve huge concentrations of illegal immigrants who were voting? This is very clearly an effort to steal the White House for Hillary Clinton, and the goal here in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan is not to force a recount, but to tangle them up like Florida 2000 in all kinds of legal proceedings, so they will not be allowed to send their electors to the Electoral College on December 19th, which is just 2 weeks away. And that means that Trump's lead over Hillary in the Electoral College will be slimmed way down, where it's only going to take a handful of Hillary's bribed, threatened, blackmailed electors to switch their votes from Trump to Hillary and steal the White House for Hillary Clinton. That's the game plan. That's what's going on out there. So, apparently over in Michigan, late last night, a liberal judge, an Obama-appointed judge, ordered the Michigan recount to start as of noon today, even though there is no evidence of election fraud and, of course, no regard to the cost. They're just really out there. Now, some of the electors in Michigan and in Ohio have gone public, saying they're being deluged with emails urging them to cast their vote for Hillary Clinton, and they're saying they're going to stand firm. They're going to stand with the voters of their states. Now, probably this flood of emails are as phony as Hillary's votes. There are companies that do nothing but manufacture phony email campaigns or regular postal mail campaigns to fool members of Congress into thinking there's a huge grassroots support or opposition to something, and it's a complete fantasy. And making things even worse and even more obvious, Pennsylvania's Secretary of State has released the contact information for all of Pennsylvania's electors. Now, in the past, they've always named the electors and which county they represented. And all of a sudden, Democratic Secretary of State Pedro Cortez has released a list of all the state's electors, including their home addresses and phone numbers, so they can be harassed and threatened. It doesn't get more obvious than that. All right, let's take a quick phone call. Bob in Las Vegas, aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Bob, are you there?
I did, Steve.
Oh,
yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I've just had it with this. I actually saw the Stein interview with Chris Wallace, and she's talking about this. You know, it seems like in her world there's this outpouring of indignation all across the nation that everyone's calling for a recount in just those states that, of course, that Trump won. I don't know where this grassroots uproar is coming from. I don't know, but I just had it. This is a candidate, Stein, who was completely ignored by the corporate media, didn't participate in the debates, and then all of a sudden she comes out after the general election and she can tie up things like she's had. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean,
it's not as if it would make a difference.
That's exactly the point right there. She can't claim aggrieved status. There is nothing that a recount is going to do to change the fact that she basically came in, in a multi-way tie for last place. And therefore, she lacks standing. If Hillary wanted to put her name on this recount effort, she should have right from the beginning rather than use this cutout. But that's very obviously what's going on. Jill Stein is acting as a puppet for Hillary Clinton to try and overturn this election. And this is already worse than Florida 2000. And the American people were very upset about what Florida 2000 revealed about our election system and how crooked it is. And we were told they were going to fix all the problems. We were never going to have to go through this again. And here we're going through it again. Now, in 2000, it really was a close race. But, before Florida was settled, both Bush and Gore were very close, neck and neck on the electoral votes. That's why it all came down to Florida swinging it. But in the current case here, we have Donald Trump with 306 electoral votes against Hillary's 232. Clearly, that's a landslide. And they're trying to reverse it. They're trying to game the system to reverse it and steal the White House for Hillary Clinton. And they're risking a civil war if they try this stunt, if they keep this up. Let's take a second here to do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And we're talking about this recount circus, how Jill Stein dropped their state lawsuit in Pennsylvania because they didn't want to pay the $1 million bond that was required for a recount. Now they've gone to federal court to order Pennsylvania to do a recount at the cost of the taxpayers. And again, the recounts aren't going to mean anything. The goal of Jill Stein and Hillary Clinton is to block Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan from taking part in the Electoral College, which will narrow Donald Trump's lead over Hillary Clinton to where just a handful of electors who've been threatened, bribed, blackmailed, whatever, to change their vote from Trump to Hillary can swing the election and give her the White House. Now, don't forget, though, there is a provision in the Constitution where if members of Congress do not think the Electoral College acted in good faith, they can override it. And we may wind up seeing that happen. I mean, but we're already being set up here. Even if Hillary fails and Donald Trump is inaugurated on January 20th, we're going to have 4 years of the Democrats screaming, he wasn't legitimate, he wasn't legitimate, he stole the election, he did this, he did that. I'm like you, I'm sick and tired of the whiners. I'm really ready to crate them all up and ship them to Siberia.
Absolutely. And Jill Stein, of course, she had to mention this. Later in the interview, she mentioned, I don't care about Hillary Clinton. This has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. But she did find time to mention that Hillary Clinton won more votes. She won the popular vote. She had to get that in there.
Yeah, but Hillary Clinton didn't win the popular vote when you subtract out all the illegal immigrants and dead people who voted.
I agree.
I mean, they can't really think the American people are going to buy this nonsense.
No, but Mike, where are we hear about all these votes that suddenly appeared in Detroit, and she was making the comparison with Toledo, but where are the Trump operatives? Does he have people on the ground?
Yes, he has his lawyers up there, and I don't think Trump is seeking media attention. His public posture is he's the winner. He won the election. He won the election by the rules everybody agreed to play with. His lawyers are on the ground in all of these 3 states trying to basically go on in and argue Jill Stein, whose name is on these legal complaints, does not have standing because a recount cannot change her personal outcome. She can't claim that she was cheated out of winning those state elections by election fraud. It's just not going to happen. And unfortunately, we keep getting all these Obama-appointed judges who are waiting on in. I thought judges were supposed to be assigned at random to these cases, but somehow or other, remember all those coin tosses during the Democratic primary that Hillary Clinton inevitably won every single one of them? It's starting to feel more like that again.
And Hillary Clinton's silence, it seems like she's disappeared. Her silence is sickening. It just speaks to the kind of person she is. Because all throughout the campaign, or at the end of that, after that third debate, she was condemning, her and the Democrats were condemning Trump for not admitting that he'd concede the election if he lost. And now her silence is deafening. It's just outrageous.
Well, we all know this is Hillary, and I think it's a mark of just how mentally deficient Hillary Clinton has become, that she actually appears to think the American people are believing that this is all Jill Stein and that Hillary's got nothing to do with it, even though Hillary Clinton's lawyers are up there with Jill Stein right now moving this along. And certainly somebody wrote those huge donations to Jill Stein's fund for the recount. Remember, somebody discovered that every hour on the hour, an automated pledge of $106,000 was being poured on in from some source. So, this probably coming from Soros. But it really, they could start a civil war with this nonsense. They really could.